This is a founder of the movement. We're going to do a quick take on Deray McKesson, the wild card games of Deray McKesson, the DNC surrogate. First thing you need to know about Deray McKesson is he did not start the movement, which is important because he already erased an entire company and group of people, organizations, and there were students, there was activists, there was artists. He just erased an entire group of people, that did something amazing that he claimed to be a part of. So, first off, he did not start the movement. Second, he is not part of the broader movement, the movement, lowercase. Um, he never worked with any leaders of the movement. He's been kicked out of the movement since pretty early on. I guess when he was trying to make his way in, shortly after Ferguson, after I guess Black Lives Matter fell apart because first they were trying to claim that they were the same and they were united and all this type of stuff, which was a lie. Him and Charles Wade they knew each other before Ferguson. And they were working together. They were part of this Black Lives Matter brand along with Sean King, another scam artist. So basically, they had this whole scheme going the entire time as things were developing. They just weren't telling people, and they were not part of the movement. So Deray McKesson was the first person to go on national television and say that he was part of the movement, which is a lie. Certain things will be dealt with, in the right way, in the future. But for now, he's just a liar, and he's doing it unlawfully, and things will be sorted out in the future. On that note, but as far as now, I guess he's done his damage as far as like sabotaging, or trying to sabotage certain things. So he wasn't successful at sabotaging the greater scheme or everything, but he did his little thing for a minute. But anyways, he did not disclose affiliations that would have disqualified him from ever being a leader in the movement, such as being a DNC surrogate, such as like if you're working with Twitter, you let people know that you're working with Twitter, especially if you're bragging about Twitter followers. Um, and trying to use that as some type of metric as your credibility, just because you don't have any street credibility. But didn't disclose that affiliation. Didn't disclose the Soros and Open Societies Foundation affiliation. So a lot of different things. Nobody knew who Campaign Zero was when the movement was going on. At all. And there was multiple radio shows going on, that kind of had a similar focus, and it was a lot different than I guess what people think. So I'm not gonna go off I guess the handle on this episode, about what that entailed. But for now, he just had a lot of affiliations that would have disqualified him from ever being a leader in the movement. He could have supported, but he never could have been a leader. And he was not authorized to go on national television and speak on behalf of the movement. So, and I've talked to Ferguson's leaders and, online, and, they were adamant as far as, they were not working with him and did not want them speaking on behalf of Ferguson's movement, which started the Black Liberation Movement that everybody associates with Black Lives Matter, which is a fraud movement. That's a Soros-funded fraud movement, and this is from the movement. So there's no way around that. They're frauds. Um, he helped. Oh, he did not start things in Ferguson on the Black Lives Matter tip, and Black Lives Matter showed up maybe 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks after Ferguson became known as Ferguson. So some things had even died down by then when they showed up, but things were organizing way before then. Ferguson has a lot of great documentation on that. Hands Up Don't Shoot, I feel like is a great resource. Not the one that's affiliated with Soros, but the one that kind of emerged out of Ferguson, that movement. Um, there's other resources out there, but there's a lot of people that they're only telling a little bit. Some it's not that they're not telling the truth, but they're just creating their own narrative and leaving out, I guess, people who started things, and like organized things down on the ground in Ferguson, or started things digitally, or even down to like the artist contribution and some of those aspects. But anyways, did not ever start things in Ferguson or lead things in Ferguson, and ultimately was ran out of Ferguson. Won't even go into details on that, but was ran out of Ferguson. And when he went back to Baltimore, and it was after I guess the Sean King spout, if I remember correctly. And he was already kicked out of the movement, and he tried to jump on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon. And then that fell apart with him and Sean King and all of them. Um, that's when he ran for mayor, and when he went back to run for mayor, that's when they said that basically we don't know you. Like you've never done this type of work. You didn't say that you were going to be doing this type of work. So to just show up in Ferguson and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm doing this, is not to say that, there's anything wrong with that. Everybody has aspirations. But, even on that note, now we know that, he had a scheme in place before that, and he had a hidden agenda, before that. So it wasn't just like, oh, I'm inspired, this is like well intentioned. It's like, a lot of people, want to do certain things, but they go about it in the right way, and kind of play their position, especially like in tragedies and tragic situations. So, did not start things in Ferguson or ever lead things in Ferguson, was ran out of Ferguson. Baltimore, basically just owned him. And, he's not from where we're at, where we started the movement. So he has no claim there to anything. Unless you want to say the DNC, Teach for America, not even getting into the politics of that. Um, but what are you, claiming that you originated from? That's what everybody wants to know. And he's never provided an answer, and on the movement, he's already, basically admitted that he did not start it, which is like, why are you getting on TV representing it and then, going back and slandering the company that, started it and introduced you to it, and then like you're just, we know the reason now, it's not like, these people are just like, making mistakes. These people have schemes. These people, had plans that they were executing to try to sabotage certain things. It wasn't about helping all the time. Sometimes it was just about sabotaging. And people had some people had probably spent years. We had personally spent years trying to execute our game plan and tons of money, tons of time. So um, yeah, if you see it's emotional on on the internet, it's real. It's serious. We try not to think about ourselves too much. But anyways, um, helped divide things in Ferguson and did not work with the local leadership. The Black Lives Matter brand, as far as the hidden agenda that they had, pretty much divided the entire movement in Ferguson into certain sects, and then from there they had certain hidden agendas, and so people are trying to fight police corruption. They're trying to execute these little like these social experiments essentially, which I won't go into detail at all, but if the people that were part of it, it's going to hit certain triggers just because they're going to know exactly what the deal is. But anyways, um, he did not start Black Lives Matter. Of course, everybody I guess knows that, and he's trying to say that he's not affiliated with the brand after they've collected I guess now over $100 million in donations. Which still as far as the movement versus Black Lives Matter, we're still good. But anyways, as far as collecting $100 million in donations, that some of that money, not just from then but from earlier, should have been going to Ferguson, should have been going to the family, and the families of the other victims that were going through what they were going through. It shouldn't have been going for vacations for special interests to go around and solicit whatever they're soliciting for. That's not what it's about. Going through tragedy at the same time, it's infuriating. And as a victim of police corruption, it's infuriating. So definitely not cool. I see why he got smacked in Ferguson. that happens. It's an emotional situation. You don't do that. You don't play with people's lives and livelihood. But anyways, has actively participated in the erasure of others' original founders. You never do that, even if you have disagreements. You never erase people. If certain people hadn't have been there, certain things may not have happened. And according to his interviews, or maybe just what he wants to reveal, he doesn't even understand, why certain things happen. So, like even on the level of trying to represent a victim on an emotional level, like why would you even do that if you're not a victim? That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Same with John King. You're not even black, so why would you ever try to represent black people on, issues that are going to be emotional triggers? But anyways, has actively participated in the erasure of others who, you know, started all of this, and people rallied around those people, not around these individuals. So if you're going to call yourself a leader, then why don't you have any leaders in the area that you're claiming that you lead? What are you saying? You lead the Democrats in corporate America? I mean, like that has nothing to do with the movement. Not to say that that's wrong or bad or anything like that, but let's be real about everything and this whole agenda, even down to the fleece, whatever. Just clown antics the entire time that people are risking their lives and time and money to try to solve these problems and get back to their lives. So um, just clown antics. But anyways, is and was a DNC surrogate. I think we've covered that. Providing updates to the DNC, which came up in the WikiLeaks. So you're providing, updates on the movement, which you did not start. And at the time, you were trying to act like you were helping. You're providing them to an alternative, a conflict of interest, basically, in that. And then with all those connections, it's like that we mentioned before. You knew what you were. He knew what he was doing the entire time. All these individuals, they knew what they were doing the entire time. Um, it's just dirty on multiple levels. And then on the DNC's part, knowing what's going on, it's dirty too. So we'll cover some of these topics more extensively in other episodes. But for now, we're just giving out information. Works with Twitter. I think we disclosed that earlier. But try to use Twitter followers as a metric, and it's just like it's just petty. First off, like what we mentioned earlier, it's about strategy, it's about the issue, it's about the families, the people going through it, the victims, and you're making it about Twitter followers, and then you're not disclosing that you're working with Twitter. It's like if you look at Facebook followers at the time, and you got like 14,000 Facebook followers, and you're trying to like boast of like social media. It's like more clown antics. Like people weren't even stressed out, or thinking about Twitter followers. Most were just like expressing themselves or trying to help solve the issue, or reposting stuff and reading stuff. So just being helpful in general, not trying to I don't know, just be a clown. And then, solicits on behalf of brands he does not own or did not start um, on a national level, which is a major issue. He's the first person to get on national TV, claim that he represents the movement, claim that he represents things in Ferguson. I believe he did the same thing with Black Lives Matter. I can't speak for other movements, but as far as the movement, as far as um, our position in things, it's we knew the entire time what was going on, but in certain situations, people not even associating the movement with something separate than the protest and the police corruption and the Michael Brown situation. Um, we just kind of kept our mouth shut. Going back to how we started the movement, essentially as a nonprofit, and just doing media for the sake of we wanted to do something cool and do something different, do something new, and do something fun. Um, so yeah, solicits and claims to represent. So on that last note, I'll just I guess cover those issues, which is like there's a certain culture and um, yeah, certain culture that we try to keep. It's our workspace, it's our work environment. It's not just a thing that we come on social media and do. So certain spaces we want to keep positive. We want to balance out. If we're going to be showing traumatic things, we also need to show people, the other side of life, and that there's, a lot to be appreciative of, and a lot of things to, focus on. Don't focus on the bad, even if you like news, like us. You gotta focus on the positive. You gotta live. You gotta enjoy the time while you're here, not be staring at the screen, even for us. But um, by claiming to represent, which is even, it's an even bigger issue than soliciting. Soliciting, okay, like you can deal with that down the road. Like representing, like you can destroy a brand, by just having trash politics, which we personally think that some people have. They seem to stick together, but on a serious note, um, claiming to represent, a movement that you're not part of and you did not start, that's just unacceptable. You should never do that. We've never claimed to be Campaign Zero. I don't even remember hearing about it until, I think 20, maybe 15, mid 2015, something like that. But we never claimed to be them. We never claimed to, be Ferguson or represent Ferguson. We were there just as media starting out, and then kind of, I guess, just working on different things with some of them, mostly like social media and stuff like that. But anyways, to come in and ruin a peaceful culture and a fun culture and something that kind of had its own balance, and then to insert aspects that were just not welcome. Just saying, being familiar with some aspects of Hollywood early on, some things that should not be in, an activism movement or an activism circle, organization. It's not about certain things. It's always about the people that you're helping, the things that you're doing, um, whatever you say that you're supposed to be doing, whether it's, helping people, helping dogs, helping, trees, whatever, like whatever it is that you claim to be passionate about and that you want to, I guess, make a positive difference for, you have to do what you say that you're going to do. And these people did not. They, co-opted, whole movements. They try to co-opt certain strategies. They try to co-opt, for us, the timing of certain launch dates as far as releasing information. So I mean, it's competition, and then when you find out more about these individuals and their start, you realize it's true COINTEL. It's not a mistake. It's not just like it's not a coincidence. Everything was orchestrated. There's connections early on of the key individuals. There's only so many people early on that were pushing the Black Lives Matter brand, which basically took a lot of the power out of Ferguson, and that situation. So there's just a lot of shady things being done the entire time. So looking on the outside, you're probably like, it's been almost 3 years. What's been done in that amount of time, and you kind of have to understand why certain things happen, which is why we're releasing this information. But um, you know that's essentially it as far as a brief overview of the wild con games of Deray McKesson, the DNC surrogate, and we are focusing on him because basically he is, the buffer between like all of the lies and then all of the grassroots, because there's a lot of people I feel like that are still supportive of each other underneath all of this what they're trying to create in media, which isn't a lot of individuals. Once people understand that, I think people will feel a lot better. But for now, I guess the games are working. But essentially, um, this is, I guess, this person, Brittany Packnett, Sam Sway, make up the Campaign Zero, and then the three founders of Black Lives Matter. Those are the places where you need to press, and you'll get all your information. And people won't be able to be erased because people remember what happened. So um, that's probably one of the biggest ways to help the movement right now is stop the erasure of people um, which is why we started the movement in the first place, and Ferguson as well, which is probably why we got along. It's about people. You try to make it about issues over people, and having all these different agendas as far as who you want to support and who you don't want to support. When you have just a general term as your claim, then you're being disingenuous. So those are the Wildcon games of we're going to include Black Lives Matter, Deray McKesson, Campaign Zero, all of that, whatever you want to call it. They're fraudulent. They did not start these things, and they are trying to openly sabotage the general movement. We're out.